Welcome to the channel, where history comes alive through the most thrilling tales of adventure and survival. Today, we embark on a journey back to 1914, to the icy waters of Antarctica, with Sir Ernest Shackleton and his brave crew aboard the Endurance. Their mission: to accomplish the first land crossing of the Antarctic continent. But what awaited them was a challenge that would test the limits of human endurance. The Endurance set sail from South Georgia on December 5, 1914. Shackleton and his crew of 27 men were filled with optimism and the spirit of adventure. Little did they know, their journey would become one of the most remarkable survival stories in history. Their goal was ambitious: to traverse Antarctica from the Weddell Sea to the Ross Sea via the South Pole. But nature had other plans. As they pushed further into the Weddell Sea, summer turned to autumn, and the sea began to freeze rapidly. Ice floes surrounded the Endurance, slowing their progress to a halt. The men worked tirelessly, attempting to cut through the ice and free their ship, but to no avail. The Endurance was trapped. The ice floes tightened their grip, and the ship became a prisoner of the Antarctic winter. Stranded, miles from any hope of rescue, Shackleton's leadership was put to the test. He knew that morale was as crucial as food and warmth. The crew organized soccer matches on the ice, celebrated birthdays, and even put on makeshift theatrical performances. Despite their efforts to maintain spirits and the ship's integrity, the relentless pressure of the ice began to crush the Endurance. The haunting groans and creaks of the ship's timbers became a constant reminder of their perilous situation. Shackleton realized that the survival of his crew was now his sole mission. In October 1915, with the Endurance at the mercy of the ice, he ordered the crew to abandon ship. They salvaged what supplies they could, setting up camp on the ice, as the Endurance was slowly consumed by the frozen sea. The sinking of the Endurance was not just the loss of a ship, but the shattering of their mission's goal. Yet, in the face of this adversity, Shackleton's resolve only strengthened. He promised his men that he would bring every one of them home safely, a vow that would drive him against all odds. This was only the beginning of their ordeal. Stranded on the ice, hundreds of miles from civilization, with no way to communicate with the outside world, Shackleton and his crew faced the ultimate test of survival. With the Endurance gone, Shackleton's men salvaged what they could from the ship: food, lifeboats, and makeshift shelters. They set up camp on the ice floe, calling it Patience Camp, a name that reflected their long wait ahead. Life on the ice was a daily battle against freezing temperatures, hunger, and despair. Shackleton kept his men busy with scientific observations, hunting for seals and penguins, and maintaining a strict schedule. Despite the harsh conditions, he knew that routine and purpose were essential for survival. After months of drifting on the ice floe, the sea began to reclaim its territory. The ice started to break up, forcing the crew to make a desperate decision. They launched the 3 lifeboats salvaged from the Endurance, aiming for the nearest land, Elephant Island. This journey was one of the most perilous legs of their ordeal. For 7 days, they navigated through treacherous seas, battling waves and ice. The men were cold, wet, and exhausted, but they pushed on, driven by the hope of reaching solid ground. On April 15, 1916, the crew set foot on Elephant Island, their first time on solid ground in over a year. But this was no safe haven. The barren island offered no chance of rescue. Shackleton knew that to save his men, he needed to reach civilization. In a bold move, Shackleton selected 5 men to accompany him on a journey to seek help. They modified one of the lifeboats, the James Caird, to make it seaworthy for the long journey ahead. On April 24, 1916, they set out across the notoriously dangerous Southern Ocean, aiming for South Georgia, where Shackleton knew there were whaling stations. For 16 days, Shackleton and his crew battled monstrous waves, freezing temperatures, and hurricane-force winds in their small boat. They navigated using only a sextant and a chronometer, with Shackleton using his exceptional navigational skills to guide them. They caught rainwater to drink and rationed their limited supplies of food, which included biscuits, pemmican, and sugar. The team landed on the uninhabited side of South Georgia. Weak and weary, Shackleton, Worsley, and Crean embarked on a grueling 36-hour trek across the island's uncharted, glacier-covered mountains to reach the whaling station at Stromness. Their arrival at the whaling station on May 20th, 1916, was nothing short of miraculous. They had traversed the impossible, but Shackleton's thoughts were with his men still stranded on Elephant Island. Shackleton wasted no time. After 3 failed attempts due to sea ice, he finally secured the Yelcho, a Chilean tugboat, for the rescue. On August 30th, 1916, Shackleton and the Yelcho reached Elephant Island, rescuing all 22 men who had waited patiently for their return. Against all odds, Shackleton had kept his promise. Every single man from the Endurance expedition was brought home safely. Their story of survival, leadership, and sheer human will remain one of the most extraordinary tales of exploration and adventure. Thank you for joining us for the incredible journey of Shackleton and his crew. If you were inspired by this tale of endurance against the odds, please like, share, and subscribe for more amazing stories from history.